My name is Brian Hayes. I'm the gameplay producer on Fight Night Round 4. As far as improvements to the physics system from Round 3 to Round 4, for Fight Night Round 3, physics really only came into play when a fighter got knocked down. In Fight Night Round 3, because the boxer movement was somewhat slow and robotic, you often found that the gameplay degraded into two guys standing in front of each other and just trading blows. So there was always an invisible wall between each boxer. They would never allow the boxers to get very close together because there'd be excessive clipping of arms passing through heads and bodies and torsos. With the new physics-based gameplay engine in Fight Night Round 4, we can let those guys get really up close and personal, so they can really stand head-to-head and exchange blows at close range. And that brings a lot of strategic depth and variety to gameplay. One of the big things for Fight Night Round 3 was the strength of each punch was determined by how far you wound back the analog stick. It was really a game about hit or miss. There were no glancing blows. It was a game of feet rather than a game of inches or millimeters. The difference of an inch or a millimeter makes all the difference in the world in the real sport and in our game. With the physics-based gameplay engine in Fight Round 4, the strength of each punch is determined by how it hits the target. So there's clean punches, there's glancing blows, there are punches that are partially deflected, and there's punches that miss altogether. Definitely a big focus for us has been the speed of combination punching. In Fight Night Round 3, the combinations were sometimes a little bit slow, a little bit unresponsive. So we've really been focused on giving the user the ability to throw combinations like an elite championship level boxer. Boxing is a sport about hitting and not getting hit. Not hitting and standing in front of your opponent and trying to swat his punch out of the air so you can paralyze him for 2 seconds. So for Fight Night Round 4, we're really focusing on defensive head movement and defensive footwork so you can step to the side or move your head to make your opponent miss and then make him pay. The knockdown moment in Fight Night Round 3 was a big moment. It was actually really fun to see, really fun to watch, but it was very repetitive. A canned animation effect that happened every single time. Well, with the physics-based gameplay engine, we're actually using physics to drive the facial distortion and all the effects that happen when you see that big punch. No two punches will look the same in that respect. It's going to look different every time based on the angle, the speed, and the power of your punch, and where it lands on the guy's face. It'll create a dynamic effect each and every time. The sweat, the blood spray, the spit in Fight Night Round 4, big step up from Fight Night Round 3, where you saw very repetitive, very canned visual effects. In Round 4, we're using physics once again to drive those effects so that they are different and they're dynamic and they're unique every single time. So each time you punch a guy, again, it takes into account the direction, the speed, and the force of each punch, and it drives the sweat spray off his head in a realistic manner. So taking everything together, what we're really trying to deliver is the most realistic simulation of the sport of boxing ever in a video game. In Fight Night Round 3, you saw a very scripted, very repetitive experience where people stood in front of each other, tried to swat their punches out of the air, and counterpunch. In Fight Night Round 4, you see a much more fluid, natural game with footwork, head movement, people making each other miss and making them pay.